Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Gaming on a Budget. Today we are looking at the freemium collectible card game Shadow Era by Woven Studios. This game was released in 2011 with 100 cards and has grown to 350 including its first expansion pack. Woven is preparing to release the second expansion pack soon and have recently begun a Kickstarter campaign to help fund it. Similar in a lot of ways to Magic the Gathering, Shadow Era provides a solid card game experience across all the major platforms and browsers so you can queue up the game almost anywhere at any time. To begin in Shadow Era, you will create a free account through the client you download or in the browser. You can then choose one of the heroes offered and will be given a basic deck built around that particular character. Each of the heroes has a unique ability and are divided by class type and alliance. There are two alliances, the Humans and the Shadows, which are opposing factions, although there is nothing preventing you from fighting against heroes of the same faction. The class types currently are Mages, Hunters, and Warriors, which you will find in both alliances, while the Human side has Priests and Rogues, and the Shadow side has Elementals and Werewolves. The starting deck you are given will have a base set of cards that is somewhat tailored to your hero's abilities, and will give you a decent idea of how the game mechanics work as you begin to play. The setup here will be familiar to anyone who has had any experience with games like Magic. The object is to cast spells and summon allies until you kill the opposing hero. There are no land or resource specific cards, so gaining the resources to cast these spells is done by sacrificing a card at the beginning of your turn. This introduces an interesting element of choosing which card is of the least benefit to you at the moment and gambling on whether or not you might need it in the future. Each card has a casting cost somewhat relative to its power, and they may be played at any time during your turn. There are no interrupts or abilities that can be played on your opponent's turn, however there are effects that you can set up to be triggered by your opponent when they are casting or attacking. Many of the mechanics here are similar to other card games such as Ambush, Stealth, Haste, and so on, which gives those already familiar with these concepts an easy entrance into the game. You begin a match with both heroes on the board and each player draws 6 cards into their hand. Sacrificing a card for your resources is the first thing following your first draw, and while you are not required to sacrifice on every turn, you cannot sack more than one card at a time. At this point, you can begin summoning allies and casting spells if you have the resources available for them. Allies will not be able to attack on the turn that they are summoned, but can defend if attacked. These cards have an attack number and a health number that the game will keep track of for you as you play. Your hero, however, does not have any attack unless you equip a weapon. There are also plenty of cards that will augment the attack and defense of your allies and your hero, as well as cards that will do the opposite for your opponents. There are 20 heroes in the game, and each one has a special ability that uses what is called Shadow Energy, a resource that is gained at a rate of 1 point every turn. All these abilities reflect the varying types of decks that you will see in the game, from damage-dealing spellcasters to trap-setting hunters to ally-healing priests. There are familiar themes throughout the two alliances, like the fact that there are no priests on the Shadow side, and as such there is very minimal healing abilities, while the Human side has very limited graveyard recursion effects. Online play in the game is handled pretty well with a friends list and the ability to search for specific players, as well as a quick match function that pairs you up with available games as they come up. The player base is pretty active, and for the most part you will not be waiting more than 30 seconds for a match. Each player has a rating that is affected by their wins and losses, and you are generally paired with a player of equal rating. The downside to the quick match system is that sometimes you can find yourself up against the same few opponents again and again if you try to queue up right after finishing a match. In addition to the standard matches, there is the weekly Meltdown tournament that anyone can participate in at the cost of 200 gold per match. This is a draft-style tournament in which you are given 4 booster packs and a 5-minute time limit to create a deck. At the end of each week, the top 50% of players are awarded a percentage of the total gold pot based on their rankings. Purchasing cards in the game is done with one of two currencies, gold or shadow crystals. Gold is earned every time you win a match against the AI or humans in online play, as well as a reward for the weekly Meltdown challenges. You can also sell cards you don't need for gold in the marketplace. Shadow crystals are earned every time you gain enough experience to level up at the rate of 25 per level, or can be purchased with real money. The crystals are used to buy 15 card booster packs, starter decks, and card sleeves. Boosters and starter decks cost 100 crystals, which works out to $1 each, while card sleeves are 200 to 300 crystals, or $2 to $3. When you buy crystals, each tier gives you a bonus depending on how much you are spending, and at the time of this recording, $20 will get you 2,700 crystals. That is enough to buy all 10 starter decks, which includes all 20 heroes and 17 booster packs, which will give you at least one solid deck to be able to compete with. Woven Studios has continued to improve the interface, but there is still a lot that could be done to make it better. The game screen itself runs smoothly and functions well, but when you are building decks or purchasing cards, it can get a bit clunky. There are deck building filters that you can set to view different types of cards, or cards that you can't use with the chosen hero. However, there is no such filter when buying cards. In the purchase screen, the interface will gray out cards for heroes that you don't own, but if you own all of them, then all the cards are lit up. It would be nice to be able to filter the purchased cards by the active deck you have at the moment. Being able to add more than one card at a time to your deck would be nice, as well as an overall number of the total ally cards versus support cards that you currently have in the build. Ultimately, these are not game-breaking issues and will not take away from the overall experience. Shadow Era brings collectible card gaming to multiple platforms with a reasonable pricing model for anyone looking to take their game wherever they go. Online multiplayer and offline AI matches gives you the ability to play just about anywhere. While there are some issues with the UI, and I would also like to see them implement matches against more than one opponent, the core gameplay is solid and entertaining. The game is available as a free download on the PC, Android, and iOS, as well as playing in the browser-based version directly on the website. This has been the Shotgun Warlock with Gaming on a Budget. As always, if you liked what you saw, click the like button and subscribe below to catch each weekly episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.